this section here, right there. Okay, so you can take that, and inside of there is also the scene setup for the level, but the only drawback is it has nothing in it, so you'll have to bring over and add these assets. Does anyone need me to cover how to add these meshes and materials? Because you just can't import them. Well, the shapes you can import, but the materials you cannot. Tell you what, I'll just do it. All you need to do is drag and drop your the meshes over into the content folder here, and you should be able to do the exact same thing for the 3-point light rig. Just drag and drop it right in. Okay. The materials, on the other hand, they're a little bit different, a little bit trickier. And what you have to do here is all you need to do is come up to all or content. Let's say content, right click on the content folder and go to add, or no, show in Explorer. It's going to open up this little folder here. You take those files and the mats, the materials, and you drop them right in there. You can create a folder called mats and then just drop them right in there. And then what you're going to get there is you'll see these materials. Okay, so I'm sort of doing the work for you, but I listed the materials over here anyway. Okay, so you have white ball, gray ball, black, and the chrome. There was an emissive. You'll see an emissive in there. Don't worry about that emissive. You can get rid of that emissive. It's not needed. Okay. So again, and add this stuff to your notes. This is the type of information that you should have with your notes. Let me say this about your notes. Please go type that stuff out, because most of you guys' handwritings is horrendous. I thought my handwriting was bad. Just type that stuff out for me, okay? Um, you could screenshot however you need to do it. Put it in a PDF document, but please do that. All right, so what we're going to do here, if I need to get you this particular scene file, let's try to do that. Let me do that right quick since I have it here. Do save all. Just a second. That's gonna be that one there. Let me go find it in the Explorer. Yeah, let me drop this over just in case for some of you that want to. I need someone to check to make sure this thing is gonna open up the way it should open up anyway. But you're gonna need those materials and meshes in order to complete this. So I'm gonna drop it in the chat. So if you can get that, drop it inside of your content browser. But again, if you can't drop it inside of that content browser, remember you're gonna have to go and source out the location and drop it here, because it may not just let you drop it inside of the content browser, and that's how you do it. So again, go to content, right click. So you have to create a project first. Remember, just go ahead and file. You can create a project first before you do all this stuff, so you have a location of where it's going to place those things, and then right click here and go to show and explore to find that location, and you should be good. And that is what I'm doing here. I do have others that's already set up, but I didn't want to show you those. So here's what I'm going to do. The very first thing I'm going to do here is let's go ahead and get this set up. One thing I don't have are the 3 balls here, or 4. So I'm going to duplicate this one. Just hold down the Alt key, and I'm going to scale this down a little bit. You may also need to change the pivot location, because the pivots, when you drop those meshes in, the pivots are in the wrong place. So if you want to bring in your own shapes, you all know how to do that now. Give me a second. Let me make a change here. It went back to this crap that I don't like. Import. Is it import? Just a second. Oh, it's not. Yeah, it is. Is it? Viewport? Or am I in the wrong section? Edit. It's not project settings. I need to change and adjust my navigation, because it reverted back to the wrong navigation. Just give me just a second here, if I can find it. It should be viewport. There it is. Invert Y. Put a mouse there. Set as default. Every time you create a new project, it's gonna ask you to do this type of thing. There we go. That's what I want. Okay, so pretty much, yeah, just move your pivot. If you want to use Maya, to create these three shapes and then import them to get your pivots in the correct place, you're more than welcome to do that. So you don't have to use my meshes if you don't want to use my mesh. I do think you want to keep it simple. So some sort of cube, a torus, and a ball should work well for what you need to do here. So I'm gonna duplicate this a few more times. That's all you do there, and all I need to do is go, let's see, white. No, that should be the chrome. That should be the chrome one. White one. The which one is it? The middle gray, and then the black one. And everything else here will get this little mesh gray. I mean everything. All of these parts here will get that little mesh gray. It's gonna look a little white, but it's not. And this is our scene. Yes, because Danny, you can't do that. Like you cannot drag those into. I literally just said that. Go to content, right click on content, showing it the Explorer. You have to load them into this little section here.
Gotcha. I thought you were asking us to just test it out.
No, yeah, no. You mean the that file? No, you have to
Yeah.
drag that file in also. You have
Okay.
to do it that way.
Gotcha.
It's crazy. But that's how they want you to do it. You see here. So we should be good to go, even though I'm not too concerned about the size of this thing. If we have an issue with the lighting and the size, we can scale everything down. So here are all our shapes here. You may want to go in and rename this, and I'll do that later. So just give everything a name, okay? And we're ready to go. I'm gonna go ahead and save this. Save all. All right, so the purpose here is to set up a 3-point light rig. We're going to be use something called Lumen. Lumen has a few different settings attached to it. It's just like what we did in Maya with this whole global illumination, but it also has something called Final Gathering. And I'll cover what Final Gathering is in just a little bit. But first, let's go ahead and let's set up this whole thing with Lumen. So we need to go into the project. So I'm going to go to settings and the project settings. Okay, we need to make sure all of this stuff is going to be turned on. So very first thing you want to do here is search for DirectX. Now, let me state this. You will need, in order for this to work correctly, you should be able to get away with the old GTX card, but most of you currently should have access to a RTX card. That's a GPU, so your graphics card. So we need to make sure we are running DirectX. And what we need to do here is you just do a search for DirectX. If you all can see that. Let's see if I can get this thing to work. I was gonna use the magnifier. Can you all see that up there?
Yeah.
All right, so your default RHI, you want to change over to DirectX. If depends on the drivers that you have. We're not going to use 11, so 12 is what I'm going to use here, and you pretty much go there. Now, the only drawback here is I'm hoping I may have to restart, so you got to bear with me. After you do all the stuff that we're about to do, you may have to go in and restart. You may have to do that a few times. Okay, so once that is done, you want to go in and we need to continue this. So I'm going to go over to the rendering, look for rendering menu. Somewhere in here is rendering. Come on. There it is, rendering. And we need to turn on a few things here. I think I already had this stuff set up, but if I'm just showing you for the first time, if you've never used this. So we need to search for, you can do a search for global illumination, or we can just look for it down here. So GI or global illumination right there. So you want to make sure that you have the dynamic global illumination method set to lumen. Maybe set to none, turn on lumen. Okay. Now, under lumen, we need to use hardware ray tracing when available. Make sure that's checked on. Your ray lighting mode, you want it to be turned on to surface cache. A cache is pretty much a collection. It's like taking every time the system does something unique for lighting, for visual effects or whatever, it will store the data and input data that you input or it inputs into what's called a cache, a file. So when you have to constantly light, because we're constantly lighting and we make small changes to the lights, it's going to use those presets. It's almost like taking what you input and it creates a preset. And that's what a cache is. It's just a collection of data. Okay. It makes the system run faster. This happens not only in Unreal, but Blender, Maya, any other 3D package out there where you have some high-end something going on. So to help speed up the system. Okay. Software ray tracing mode, we need to set to detail tracing or detail tracing right there. And under shadow, please make sure you do your research here because there are others. I mean, I'm trying to keep this as basic as I absolutely can. I don't want to stress out your system, but what you can do here is really push the limits of what this graphics card can do. There it is. So shadow map method is going to be set to virtual shadow map. And this was in beta, but it shouldn't be in beta now. So virtual shadow maps. Okay. So hardware ray tracing, we need to look for that. Hardware ray tracing right here. Support hardware ray tracing, we want to turn that on. I went ahead and turned on path tracing. That might cause a little problems there. So path tracing is going to get you that it's going to really push the realism there. But just to be on the safe side, if you don't have a beefy machine, turn that off. Okay. So again, this is going to require a GPU that supports ray tracing. Basically, that's an RTX card. Okay. The RTX cards right now are going to be the best. Okay. So when you do all that stuff, I don't think I'm going to have to restart, but when you do all this stuff, all you need to do now is restart. Restart your Unreal. Let's get to it. Unreal has different types of lights. Okay. It has a lot of different types of lights here. So we're basically getting into the light types inside of Unreal right now. So you will find your lights. So it's down here under your place actor, and then you're going to see lights. Just click that. So I'm going to try to go through some of these lights so we can sort of, so you have a generalized idea of what to do here. So we have directional light, point, spot, rect, and we have a skylight. All of these lights, these are your both indirect and direct lights. A directional light can be used more like your sunlight. Think of it as your sunlight, right? So your point light is going to be, it's going to come from one point. I'm just drag and dropping that in. So say a light bulb, a candle, a lamp, something like that, a torch. So if you created a torch and you wanted to get that simulate that effect of that type of lighting, that's what that's going to be. Let me drag in the directional light also. So the directional light, which we already have one in the scene, is right there by default. It's going to give you your directional light right there. Remember how to do this thing. I was holding down the L key to get that thing to sort of move out. So you see I can move the light. It's your sun. It simulates your sun, the direction. So if you want to look up and find wherever the sun is in your scene, somewhere in here it's hard to tell which direction the sun is coming from, wherever the brightest cloud is, maybe right up there. So something like that is kind of what you want to do here. And you can shorten that See that? You can do it that way. There's a shortcut in here. I thought it was the L key. Or is it Alt L? Let me figure it out. It's not Alt L.
It's the right control and then L.
It is right.
Yeah, right control.
It's not working for me. Yeah, I think it's still doing this my navigation, which yeah, it's not set up. It's not working for me. Let me see if nah, it's not working for me at all. It might, if it's working for you. I was able to get it to work on a different scene, but for some odd reason, I think I made a change. When I made that change to my navigation, it did something. Okay, so it's fine. So there's a way of what Florida's saying, that the Alt key and then right mouse button will, you can change the azimuth, you can change the direction of the lights just by on the fly, just by holding down those keys. Let me try it one more time.
You can also do Control L.
That's what I just did. I literally just did that.
Damn.
That's what I thought. It was something like that. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
So we can change the direction of that light by holding those down. Yeah, it's wigging out on me, and I'm hoping it's not something I did in the settings. Okay, but that's your point light. We have a spotlight. Spotlight is is a common light that you will find in cinematography, in photography, so forth and so on. So it is a way of us to illuminate, you know, and focus in on a particular type of asset if we want to do that. One thing I'm going to do first is I want to turn off some stuff. Let's turn off the skylight. Let's turn off let's leave the atmosphere on. Let's turn off let's see, leave the fog on. Some of the stuff you want to turn off sometime. See, like that, there's your directional light. I'm just gonna go ahead and turn this off so you all can see what's happening here. Let me go back and find that spot. And let's move things in a little bit closer here. And remember, we are in local space. Look, now it looks like we're in world space, but we can switch this thing over to local space so we get in closer if we need to. See that? So we have a point light, we have a spotlight in the scene, and then the lights that we're mainly going to be using is going to be the rect light. This is like that floodlight or reflector. So when we're setting up our 3-point lights, we're going to only be using the rectangular lights and all. And then you have a skylight. So your skylight we can bring back in. It's a different light source, but we'll talk about that a little later down the road. So these are the different lights. And the other light that we can use, remember the HDR background. We're gonna play around with that. Not today, probably on Wednesday. Okay, but Unreal has light mobility. So when I select any one of these lights here, it has something called light mobility here. And see mobility. You have static, and we have static, we have stationary, and then we have what's called a movable light. Static, stationary, movable. You can read up on it. It'll tell you what it has for bake lighting options. Can't move, which means when you move that, the shadows and all that stuff may not work correctly. The one that you constantly want to use here to get total dynamic lighting, as you can see, total dynamic, is the movable lights. So I want to make sure that all of my lights here are movable if I'm going to use that. Let's get rid of that point light. Let's go ahead and get rid of, where is it? Spotlight. What I like to do here also, as I'm making these lights, like you see these rec light, I will put these in groups. So if you select your lights as you add them, press Control G, it'll create a folder for you. So you can keep up with that type of stuff. And then we'll go back in and we'll be renaming these lights a little bit later. Okay, but you want to make this and turn this into a movable light. Why? If you have static or stationary and you're moving, you're making changes to those lights, Unreal may tell you that you have to build those lights. You have to go back in and constantly rebuild those lights. So let me see if I can simulate that. Not sure if I can. No, I'm not seeing it here. Yeah. So sometimes when you are trying to do a particular thing and you start making major changes, and you come in, I may be able to, let's walk into the environment. And the character is apparently, does anybody remember that shortcut to put the character on the ground? See, it says bad size.
Should be shift plus end.
Yeah, it's still not working. I tell you what, let's go to place actor. And is that an actor? It triggers player start. Yeah, something's up with this scene. I don't think you're going to have those issues. I did something earlier where I moved a few things around. I think that's what's causing the problem here. Let's play. Yep, see how it's putting me under. Let's delete it. Player start. Yeah, they're still coming in. Oh, I know why. The environment. Let me turn this back on right quick. I think the environment is too large. That may be what's causing the problem here. So let's see what happens if I put a player start out here. Are we getting bad? Nope. See, it's working now. So on here, the scale of the environment is going to matter sometimes. We may want to scale it down. I'm not going to do it right now, but let's just check to make sure this works. Yes, it's working. So see, I can't even, and there's collision. There's a problem with the collision here. So we would have to add some sort of collision volume. That's not the point. You don't want to be running around in this thing. It's just for us to set up the lighting and all. But I was hoping to see if there was if sometimes when you try to play your game and you set up these lights in unique ways, you may get a warning. You'll see a warning up here that says the lights have to be rebuilt. All you need to do is go up to build and say you can build all or you can just build your lights. Okay, if you ever get that. Now, again, to avoid that type of thing there, if you change your light source over to movable, you should be good. Okay, you should be fine there. So I'm going to keep it right there as movable. Okay. All right, Unreal uses two different light methods, and this is just data that goes into your notes. It uses a bake option, which is more advanced. It uses a dynamic option, which is preferred. And with the dynamic is like you ever heard of the term WYSIWYG? I don't know if any of you are. This is old school term. WYSIWYG stands for what you see is what you get. This is a term used for web designers also. But the dynamic feature works really well with Lumen. Okay, so when working with the dynamic options there, or that feature, that's kind of, it works well with Lumen. Is easy to work with. You will not need to rebuild movable lights technically. So because we're using this particular light source, we won't have to constantly rebuild these lights. Okay. So we'll come back later and play around with the whole HDRI because that is part of this notes too. That's part of this little lecture, and I don't want to talk about that right now. So let's go ahead and get into some of these little features right here. As if I'm going to go ahead and start setting up my 3-point light rig. What I want to do is let's go ahead and turn off the directional light again, and let's start playing around with setting this thing up. So this first light here again is which light? Which light is this?
Key light.
Key light. Yep, this is going to be my key light. Well, I need to participate. Okay, so I'm gonna set up my key light. I didn't set up a camera. I'm not gonna set up a camera. We can set up a camera here, but for the time being, I'm just not going to do that. And I'm gonna be switching back over between world space and object space or local space. Okay, so I'm in world space right now. And your setup is going to look a little different from mine. So we're calculating, here's my intensity. The units is Candelas is the unit intensity. We do have lumen here, so you can change over to lumen if you want to. I'm going to leave it at Candelas. And we want to change and modify our color. So remember, warm or cool, we're going to go with more of a cool color here. So I'm going to stick that and push that over into the blues a little bit. Keep it desaturated, too saturated, desaturate that color. Say okay there. And you can adjust the width. You can play around and we can shape that light we need to. What I think I need to do here is really push the intensity up a little bit more. Yeah. So there's a problem that we're going to run into, and let me show you that problem. See how every time I turn this light on and off, see what's happening? It's blooming. The lights are blooming. That is a exposure issue. So let me go ahead and run you through how to correct that, how to turn that off. Okay, because it can be a little tricky here. Give me just a second. Basically what that is a exposure. It's called post-processing. So we can add a post-processor here to control the amount of light that the camera sees. And this gets into a little bit more of the advanced stuff. So what I want to do here is first, we need to go over to our Place Actor tab, which is there, and we need to look for post-process volume is what we're looking for. So I'm going to take this and drag it in. It's going to be a little box here. Yeah, this tells me my scene is too big. See how small that thing is? So again, scale your environment down a little bit, because this is really large. These objects shouldn't be that large. Okay. So post-process volume, you're just gonna search that out, drag and drop it in. So the position has no value. You can place that thing anywhere. Okay. Pretty much anything inside of this little box here will not be affected by the exposure and exposure change. So we need to make that infinite. So in the details, from the details tab right here, this tab right here, we need to look for unbound. So we need to make that infinite, and by clicking there. So now this box, even though you see the box right here, the box is around the whole environment. Okay. So we need to go and search for, the next thing we're going to search for is going to be exposure, EXP. So this is where we're going to make our changes to the amount of light that goes into the camera. Okay, this is your exposure. Remember inside of Maya how we had that exposure setting? That's where this is done. So you had intensity, you had exposure. This is where for the light, this is where we're going to make those changes. It's not attached to the light, it's going to be attached to more of the camera. So see, it says these are all camera settings here. Okay. So we're going to turn on metering mode. We're going to set that to manual. And look at what happened. See that? Okay. Now we're going to apply a physical camera exposure. Physical camera exposure, which is right here, but we're going to turn this off. So we're activating it, but we're going to turn it off. Now, only affect the manual exposure mode. So that's basically what's happening here. We're going to we can manually start making our changes here. Please start looking up what is exposure in Unreal and how Unreal treats exposure. What are the metering modes? What are some of these other little features here? If you're not a photographer, if you're not from that world, I'm also trained in photography, so I may understand this stuff, but a lot of you may not. If you're not trained and you don't understand a lot of this, please research it out. And that's part of your asynchronous research that you can add to your notes. Okay, so now no matter where the camera is placed, the scene will not get brighter. And well, let's test this. See it? No blooming. No blooming. Okay. So we can let's adjust the scene's exposure in Unreal. So we can select the volume, which we should already. Let's turn this off. Let's go to post-process volume. Make sure we have that. Let me get off of it and come back into it. Yep. Okay. So select the post-process volume under exposure. Under exposure. Exposure compensate. We're going to turn that one on also. So now this is where we can actually adjust the lights. See how I'm bringing that down? The exposure amount of light that's going into that lens is what we're adjusting there. So you don't want to go crazy. That's overexposed. This is underexposed. This is how, again, how HDRI images work. So I can bring this up just a little bit if I need to adjust that exposure. So you can brighten or darken the scene through the camera exposure. Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? Any questions? No questions. Okay, cool. And again, please don't assume that I'm recording this. Aha, don't assume. All right, cool. So I'm going to turn off, and what I like to do is make sure I keep all the certain lights turned off for this particular thing here. And we don't get any changes to the exposure. I'm going to find, how many rec lights did I create? I got that one, and then I have this one. Okay, let's go ahead and delete that one. And let's play around with this one here. So again, this is where we're going to start making changes and playing around with that light, the shape of that light. We're going to move that light in. So I have to get closer here because my scene is too big. If I need to, I can try to scale all of this stuff down. Let's see if I can. So we have the backdrop. We have all of these parts here. The slope. Did I get them all? Let's see. I got the cube. I got the donut. I got the sphere. And I got the slope. I'm going to press Control G to put them in a group. No, not that way. Sorry. Let me right click here and create a, and you can see it there. Normally you want to create a folder here, but here's the group, the actors group. And I don't think, yeah, I can see, I can scale it down, but it's going to move all these parts in weird ways as if, so I would have to scale all this stuff down a little bit manually. The pivots are in the wrong place. So let me move the pivot points and show you how to move the pivots if you need to move the pivots. So just for that particular slope, let me undo this also to get rid of that. So that background, let's bring this down, maybe to somewhere right about there. And then let's take the shapes here, scale them all down. Reposition it. And these should be fine. Yeah, they are fine. Just leave them there. And let's just center. Let's stop up. The volume can stay there. Not too concerned about that. Let's get the camera in here. And let's save right quick. File save all. And let's go ahead and play around here again. Let's turn off the directional light. See, it looks a little bit better now. That looks a little bit better. And you can keep increasing this if I want to. I can take this to 200, just input a value, something like that. I do think I want to make the sphere a little bit larger. I want it to be my main character here. Working levels. Foreground, mid, and back is what I'm thinking. Okay. Maybe a little bit too large. That's good. Okay, so let's go back and select that rect. Now, let me rename this light. ELT, key light. Save all. Again, make sure you save because this thing has a tendency of crashing a lot. So again, we can reshape. And as I reshape this, you see what's happening to the shadows a little bit. Shadows are actually moving around some. We're casting a shadow, and we should have the ability to play around with the shadow color. I do think, from what I understand, you used to be able to play around with shadow color. I don't think we can really make that change anymore. So we're not going to concentrate too much on playing around with shadows. There are some other issues with shadows in here as far as how shadows work. But we're casting raycast shadows anyway. We can search. Let's see. Let me go in here to the light. Type in ray. Cast ray trace shadows. And I'm going to enable that if I can. Yeah, look at that. Look how bad that just got. So it's trying to cast some ray trace shadows there to give us better attenuation. Give me a second. I think the issue also may be with the meshes here. So just to be on the safe side, let's run a test here real quick. Yeah, my Unreal is really, and I have a beefy machine. I'm going to go into content, starter, props, and material sphere, static mesh. Let me drag that in. And let's add a material there, because it could be these. See how it looks different? So it may be the mesh that's causing the issue. So if I delete that mesh, I'm only getting this also on certain meshes. No one has any other questions here while I'm working on this stuff, trying to make sure, trying to get this correct. So you again, you can bring in your own assets, but turning on that thing is telling me, it's showing me that I have a problem. I don't think we have a torus. Is there a torus in this? I don't think there is. Shapes. Yep, there is one. First, let's scale it up. Let's go and turn on this. Yeah, let's see. Let's just to be safe. I tell you what, we're gonna change the cube out, and I'm gonna add a cylinder. Not that cylinder. Yes, it's a little bit better. I'm just rebuilding the scene. Pivot's in the wrong place, but that's fine. Yeah, let's go. All right, so Sorry, I have to rebuild this thing. Gray mat, gray mat. The slope should be fine. I'm not too concerned about the slope there. Okay. Turn off the directional light. And let's go back and play around with that light again. We still in ray. We're using ray tracing is enabled, so the shadows may be a little bit softer. It should be softer. And we're getting like real tight shadows there. So this light has something called a barn door. For anyone that doesn't know, you can shape a light. This is something that if you were working in a production, they put these little at the front of a light, certain lights, parkans, tungsten lights, there's certain studio type lighting. You can put a ring on the front of the light, and it has these doors on it. It has 4 doors on it, and you can control the shape of that lighting just by opening up the doors or closing the doors up. And give me a second. Let's see. Let's play around with that. But let's reshape this. Yep. So we have the angle. We have a barn door here. So see these little doors. That what's happening right there. That is the barn door, and we can control the length of the barn door. See. So I can shape that if I need to. Just tighten it up a little bit. Something like that. The barn door shouldn't affect the camera. I mean, I don't. It's in what way would it affect the camera? It's attached to the light, not the camera. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna take this light and duplicate this light. Let's change this light name over to fill LT. So we have these. I'll put these in groups later. We'll put these in folders so we can create a folder here just like that. So now let's move this light and reshape it. See, I'm changing that light a little bit now. Let me affect the lighting by adjusting those. So we have our key light there and the fill light. But I need to bring the intensity down, set up too high. I just need to fill in those shadows. And let me say this, I was pretty impressed by what most of you did with your lighting in the Maya, especially with what I probably should have had you all do also was just take a few renders without the HDRI and then take some renders with the HDRI. It's probably what I should have had you all do so we can see a comparison. So if some of you want to go back and turn off the HDRI and do that, by all means, please do. So let's see, let's add a warm color here. So this intensity is set up 200. This intensity is going to be set up probably, bring it up a little bit more, right about 95 maybe. Then reshape, reposition. My only drawback here that I'm seeing is right there. See that shadow right there? So I need to drop this down, adjust that angle. Let's take it to the floor. It's pretty hot. It's really intense. So let's bring that down some. So we got that. Okay. So the next light is what?
Fill?
The field light. Why is it duplicating these lights? You see? Let's delete. I think I moved the wrong light. See, it says key. This is what this should be the field light. Now there's two of them though. It's crazy. Key light, key light. And field. Key light, field light. Got it right. Let's take that light, duplicate it, rename it. Rim light. And move that rim. It's not bad, is it? Setup takes the longest, and that doesn't even take a long time. You all can do this, can't you?
Sure.
Let's see. Let's get the triangle effect in. This program also has light linking. Let me see if I can, we may cover that on Wednesday, the whole light linking thing. And so you can tell which light, um, what assets to affect. So if I want to add a backdrop light in here across the top, like we did inside of Maya, I can tell it to only affect the backdrop. So there are ways of doing light linking over here. Okay, now here's something else I like to do. I'm going to turn off the key. I'm going to turn off the field. And let's take a look just at that second here. At that rim. Okay, now let's go back, turn these on real quick. Key light, field light, rim light. Let's turn them off. So I'm going to turn them on and off. Because what I'm trying to get is, depending on where my camera is placed also, I need to shape this thing in a way where I can really see, see the effect. Let's go to 1500. That for that attenuation of the source. Nope. I don't think I need a barn door. Nope. Let's take that out and adjust the length. Let's play around with the color. Let's take it into the greens. My only drawback is I would like to have more going on this side here. Just a little bit. Let's drop it down. Okay, let's turn that one off and turn the field on. Check it. Let's turn on the key. We're losing information here, see right there, but if I turn that rim back on. Yeah, see how dark it is right there? So what's happening is the field light is not creeping in. It's not getting in there. The attenuation is dropping off too much. Yeah, so we get something like that. Okay, let's save. What time are we over?
11:45.
That's what I thought. Okay. All right, so let me add another light, a new light. This is going to be the top light. Okay. So we have our 3-point light system set up here. Let's all do a little cleanup. It added another light too, didn't it? Let's create a folder. Drop you in there. So I can turn them off if I need to. I think by selecting the folder also. Used to be you could rotate those. I think that's what the group is for. So on here, pressing Control G, we have an actors group. So I should be able to rotate these lights. See that? All at the exact same time if I need to do that. F2, so I can't even change that name of that light, of that group. So we have a group. So let's definitely go ahead and make sure you save. Okay, now let's add another rec light. Let's point that light down a little bit at an angle. So this is for the background. I want to control that intensity. Radius. Wow, 16,000. This light is going to affect those, but again, later we'll look at the how to adjust and only direct this light to affect only one object. Mm-mm-mm. I think it's a little bit too much. I tell you what, let's turn on directional light so we can see it a little bit better. I'm gonna turn off the grid snapping. Wrong one. All right. And here's the great thing. Here's why I use, and you should be using. See these right here. What are they? Here's what they are. Second, let's turn this back off. These are there to also show you where, if we had an HDRI image, it'll show you exactly where your light source is because we can see it in the chrome ball. The white one here will show you just how intense the lights are, okay? Especially when you're playing around with indirect lighting. So it'll get really, really bright. See, it'll get brighter, brighter, and also it shows you just how bright your scene is, and if your lighting is a little bit too bloomish or too intense. The gray one is great because it's basically, this is where we should be somewhat. Even though we're illuminated here, if we start putting lights over here, it's gonna do basically what's happening here to there. The black one here is really for exposure and showing shadows. So we want to see how dark our shadows are, and we want to use this as a base here. Okay. do your research. There's tons of information out there on the reason why this stuff is. There's an artist. I think it's already posted up on the server for this class. You got to look for it. Where he covers why this is. This is something I've done for a very long time. This is something you'll find on most Hollywood sets. Again, they'll take out a little ball on a stick. One side is chrome, the other side is gray, and they'll do that whole flippy thing. So they'll use the chrome side to get an exposure reading for HDRI. And then on the gray side, they want to make sure that everything, their grays are gray. Everything is neutral when they color correct. They also are using color checkers. And if you haven't seen a color checker, on the Feature Guild server, there's a section about color checkers and all. Here's something, if you are a photographer, you're going out shooting stuff, shooting your own HDRIs or shooting reference, you're shooting textures and things like that, you should use a color checker. Okay, you can look these things up. Color checkers are really important. On any set, that means for Hollywood sets, virtual production, things like that, color checkers are important. I use them in my photography too. Okay, so when I'm going out and I'm shooting subject matters, or I'm shooting whomever I'm getting paid to do certain things like that, I will use a color checker. And all that is it's a chart with all kind of colors on it. It has grayscale values. It goes from it has white values, so you can pretty much white balance through the color checker. You can check how your grays through the color checker, and it has a whole bunch of preset colors that editing softwares, Photoshop, what's the program that I use? Lightroom from Adobe when I'm color correcting, or if I'm using a compositing software to color correct. In our world, you want to use a color checker. And that color checker will pretty much calibrate the colors. It'll match the colors from when you shot it to, because your camera sensor, and the sensor over here is going to give you a depending on what type of sensor you have, the colors could be off. Well, the color checker is going to correct that. Okay, so look into color checkers. You can, I'm not sure if you can use them as with your phones. You might be able to. I normally keep one in my, I have a photography kit. I'll keep it, I'll take it out. You can get them on Amazon. I think now pretty cheap. They can get expensive, but if you look around, you should not be shooting anything, trust me, without a color checker. Okay, that's what you use. So get yourself one over time. Let's just reposition some of this stuff. And don't go making up your own colors. Don't go thinking that you can just go print some colors and put it on a chart. No. These colors are matted, and they're set up. They're using certain spectrums in order to get that stuff to work correctly. So you definitely want to get yourself a color checker. Yeah, I'm not setting up a camera right now. We will set up a camera when we get into rendering. We meet one more time, and that is next Monday. That's the last day. So on Monday, we will get into camera setup and also rendering, how to render inside of Unreal. Now, let me show you this, because we can go ahead and do this now. And what I need to do is stretch this thing out a little bit. Let's go back to just a little bit. I'm gonna stretch it out because I want to get in a little tight right in there. We're meeting Wednesday, yes, but that's other stuff. There's a whole nother lecture set up for environmental lighting. This is not environmental lighting. We will be meeting this Wednesday, not next Wednesday. Your last day is Monday, right? Next Monday? The 8th is your last day. So you'll get one more lecture from me. Sorry. How do I render? Or how do I take a screenshot? See the little hamburger icon right there? I call it the little hamburger icon right up there. Go here, and then if you go and click, it's supposed to be here, supposed to be here, supposed to be a high resolution screenshot. So if you click it, shot size multiplier, you can play around with that if you want to. And if I capture, It's gonna think, it's gonna work, should get something down at the bottom when it's completed, unless it changed. This is a new, this is 5.5, so they may have changed that. It shouldn't take that much. Oh my God, what are you doing? There it is. Oh, I missed it. There it is right there. This is where it's going to place that. So wherever your projects, this is my actual project, 3-point lighting setup, save screenshots, and that's where it's putting that thing there. So let me go find that folder. So we can take a look at that folder. Yeah, right there. Let's go to screenshots, this backup one. So yes, this is my actual project. So it goes into saved screenshots. And there it is. Yep, something like that. I could go with, I haven't made adjustments to the other lights. So remember I turned on this directional light, turn that crap back off. Let's go play around with this other light first and then take a screenshot of it. Now, all of you have, now you have some experience in lighting and you should have questions, and I don't see, no one's asking questions. Yes, colors, same process as Maya's. Absolutely. Doesn't really change much. So let's take this. So we have a warm, a cool, an offset color. Let's see. Let's go with a, let's keep it earth tone. So let's go into the browns. And the only drawback again is the light linking issue, because that light is affecting everything. You see it, it's going to affect everything inside of this scene. So with that being said, I may want to go with the cool color. That looks nice. And desaturate that color. And as you can tell, see all the harsh lines right there? That's that whole, the closer you get to, that's the barn door stuff. So I definitely want to make sure I make a change here. And yeah, adding that thing to that group, I don't think it helped. Let me ungroup these. So what I did, you can right click on the group, or you can select these things, just right click and say group or ungroup. It's similar to what you could do inside of Maya. You can do the exact same thing over there. Let's lift this up. And I want to take out, yeah, let's take out that barn door. Isabel, the barn door pretty much is, it's a way of shaping the light. So you see how we do this. The only drawback to this type of barn door is in the real world, they're not all connected as one. They're connected individually. So imagine, think of a light source, a tube, and on the front of that tube, you have these 4 doors. And you can take any one of these doors individually. So it's, say you're focusing in on something, and your director comes in and says, "Hey, there's too much light. The light is bleeding on the too much on the right hand side." Well, you can take a door and it goes from 180, and you can slowly start closing that door on the right hand side to eliminate how much light is being is illuminating on the right, or the top, or the bottom, or the left hand side. You can control each one of those doors. Okay, that's basically what the barn door is. It's just a way of controlling this. I wish Unreal would allow us to do that. So if I wanted to only affect this side, I can open it up or close it more to eliminate the amount of light on this side. Okay. It's already there. So when you create the area light or rec light, that's what they're calling it. It's in the settings. See barn door angle, barn door length. So we can adjust that. I could take it completely out, which I think I'm going to do. See what's happening. I can extend that and see how that, well, look at that shape. See that harsh line, that line right there? Well, now we can, that's what we're doing there. We're shaping that. The only problem again is I can't adjust these individually, and I would love to be able to do that, to make that change. Only for rec lights. The spotlight, let me see. I don't know if the spotlights. Let's talk about the spotlight a little bit. I'm going to add a spotlight here. This is old school, right? So we used to set up a 3-point light rig with a spotlight. You still can. A lot of artists will tell you you can do that. I don't like to use them because they're not as soft as using a area light. So we got the spotlight here, and let's play around. First, let's change the color. Let's just go in extreme so we can see this, the effects. So we have the attenuation. How far? The attenuation basically means fall off. How far that thing goes before it falls off. Now let's increase the lighting. Movable lights. I don't have to rebuild them. So what? There we go. So you see how I have to get this thing pretty close, or I have to really increase the attenuation, the fall off. So the fall off is set out. And this is what I mean by the fall off. This is 100%. This is 0. Right at the light source is 100% of the intensity. This is 0. So we can increase this until we start seeing something, and then I can start bringing up the intensity there, and I can control this is called the penumbra. That little inner cone, when it gets out here, it's gonna get sharper and sharper the farther you go in, and then when you take it in, it should get softer. So between the inside cone and the outside cone you're gonna get a softness, so it goes 0 to 100%. So you can do a lot there. Now, there's nothing wrong with using both. Okay, in your light. Now, what I'm showing you is basic 3-point light setup for, say, if you got assets you want to light, and you should light this way, especially in Unreal. You got assets you want to show for your portfolio and things like that. This is how I would do it. But if you're trying to set up your environments for some game or something, don't be afraid to use spotlights or point lights and all that other good jazz. 3-point lighting is not always going to work for that. This is why we're going to get into the whole environmental lighting on Wednesday. Okay, so I can control the radius. See what's happening on the back end. Look right there. Watch what happens right in there. Source radius. I'm increasing the radius, and it's going to get hard or softer if I want to control that. Okay, so you can play around with these settings and look this stuff up, so you can, they give you a lot of options in here. Now we also have temperature, which was called what? Who remembers what temperature? The lights are measured in what?
Kelvin.
Kelvins. Cool, thank you. So we can turn that on, and I can control the kelvins. See there? So if I want a sunny day, I have to put in the number for whatever sunny day. If I want a candle light, I could put in the number for that, and just different readings there. So you have full control over that type of thing there. You can mix it if you want to. So you may have lights out here that's not using kelvins, and then you want a particular effect there. So if you wanted to say add, you got a key light in here, but you wanted to add an extra little light on the bottom or something, you try to use this or use another reflector to sort of pick up some of the light that's bouncing off the ground and push it up into the asset. There's a lot that you can do here. Okay. So that is what the point light is. I'm sorry, the spotlight is, and you have full control over it. This is more going to be more for your stage lighting. Yeah, that type of thing is going to be Christian. That if you want to control lights, the turning, that's a trigger. Those are mechanics, and that is going to be what is the thing that Ola teaches that in game design too, that type of thing. What's the coding the option that is built inside of here? I just had it on the tip of my tongue. So yes, there's a way of doing that. Okay, we're not doing it here because we don't have, you can either set that up on an animation timeline, Blueprint. Thank you, Danny. Blueprint. You can set that up. Also, if you're not using Blueprint, you have to animate that. You can turn the lights on and off. If you just wanted to create a pulse, you can do that also through a timeline. Or you can use the Blueprint to node base, add the correct nodes, and you can have it pulse and trigger. But she shows all that stuff in her class. I don't do it here. I'm not a code head like some of you. All right. So that is that's what we have here. So you want to come in and play around with this. Let's turn that off. Let's go and look at the point light. Point light's going to be a little different. So remember what I said. If I turn on, say, let's turn on these lights here. And you see how we are losing some illumination right there. I may want to come in here and add just a little bit more illumination right there, but that's too hot. So bring this intensity down. And you see, this is not the best light to do that. An area light is probably going to be the best light to do that because it's going to be more focused. But you can. But say you had shadows and you couldn't behind these objects. And I just wanted to highlight a particular zone or something like that. You can't play around with stuff like that just by making these changes. But here, we can adjust the colors. The attenuation, so we can really expand this out, but the intensity has to go up in order for the attenuation to be effective. Okay, I don't like that, but still, it's just a demo. We can adjust the radius, soft radius. Look at what's happening there. So I don't know if you see that, but right there, watch that edge. It's a little bit harder now because we're increasing that radius. The source length, so you can adjust it that way also. And then again, Kelvin's the temperature, and it's casting a shadow. I wish there was a way to change the shadow color. I don't recall. It used to be an option, I think, but I don't see it in here anymore. Shadow. So yeah, we have all the shadow information in here. Shadow bias, you can make changes there, but the shadow color, someone comes across it, let me know. Okay. So that's basically what that is. Let's take that out. Let's add another area light because I do want to fix this little issue right there. So let's add this in here. So always start out with a 3-point light rig and then start adding your extra lights as you need them. Yeah, rec light, not the point light, the rec light. Because that light looks like an area light, it's square. Okay? So if you're playing around in other 3D packages, they may call them area lights. Unreal is going to call it a rec light, or because it looks like a rectangle. That's why they're doing that. So this is where to correct some of the shadow issues, I may start adding additional lights here to take up the slack. So if it's cool on this side and it start getting warmer on that side, I may leave it cooler right here, like that. Sort of roll that over. We still got a problem there. But again, if I need to, I can add, maybe we may be able to get away with shaping this. Let's shape this light. Yeah, so we can shape that like that. The intensity is, see, it's getting us it's too intense. So we want to definitely start bringing that down. So this lighting stuff is a language, man. It's complicated. It gets really, really complicated. But I'm gonna tell you something. You can make a very, very good career and a lot of money from being a lighting artist, a technical director in lighting. And those are also look development guys and girls. All they do is they work with materials, they work with lightings, they set the tone for the way the environment and the shot and the scene or the game is supposed to look. They set that tone. And like I said, I interned under one. And the smile that used to come on his face when you ask him, when he was asked the question how much money he makes, man. He's a Georgia native. He made a lot of money. Living in Los Angeles and then moved back. He's from Augusta. He moved back to Augusta. Now he's back in Los Angeles. So see, again, I can add even more. I wouldn't keep it the exact same intensity. Drop that down even more here. So you see now we're illuminating that area. If I need to, I can pull this light back. Let's turn off. Let's even turn off. Where's that skylight? What is it called? Not skylight. Red. We'll call this top. So see how much illuminate this one is illuminating. That's a little bit too hot, so I want to pull it back some. Let's turn on the key. Turn that RAM on. Turn on the key first. Check it. Turn it off. Turn on the fill. Check it. We're getting good illumination there. Even with this one, see if we can get in tighter. I just want a good blend, a good mix. Key and the fill. And then the rim. The rim to me could be a little bit brighter. And let's change the color. Let me go back to that pinkish color. This is the off color. Key. Yeah. So your lighting may look a little different from mine. It's just going to be. Don't try to place my lights where the position of my lights. Don't try to copy me. Don't do that. Play around with these. I think I could get away with taking that. I do think I need a little bit more. 220. Yeah. And we're getting that little banding right there. So what I'm thinking about is characters, because I have a scene where I have a character. I'll put my characters in the shot and I'll just replace that. Don't think I have it. Do I have it? I didn't give him to you all. Where was that thing? Let me go see if I can find him right quick. I'll show you. So might be in a totally different scene. Lighting project. Yeah, you're not getting this. Bust and Glocko. Glocko low, eyes, these two. A second, let me move them. Drag and drop these in. I think these are the ones. Bust material, which is going to be the exact same grade. Okay, let's see, meshes. There he is. Let's take these two here. This is a bus I did for one of the advanced 3D modeling class last term. The new bust is absolutely different from this one. And this is what I show. So if he's fully textured too, its textures are just not here. I'll do something like put him on a platform like there. See if I want to put this thing on that platform right there. I'm not the original creator. I just sculpted it. This mesh was concepted, was clay sculpted by Glocko Longi. He's a character artist that worked on God of War and some other things like that. So this is just one of the meshes. So this mesh here, if I'm going to light, see what's happening, and all I'll do now is make small little adjustments, like maybe let's bring this down. Bring that down. So I'm able to now go in, take a look at what I have here. I may want to add a little bit more, put a little bit more gray on him or whatever. And then all I need to do is start making adjustments to my lights, my environment, my scene. So that, like, see the rim? I want more rim back there. Just turn off these other lights here. Just turn off that top light. And I need to play around with trying to add a little bit more information in here around to illuminate, pop him off the background like that on one side or a little bit on the other side. Turn on the key. We're getting, you know, some good illumination there. And the only drawback here is that key light. Raise it up some, because you can see the shadows back there. We had some harsh shadows there. And then the fill light, definitely got to move that fill. You see the fill is not even pushing in, and it looks like it's in the wrong place. So that fill light is not on. Turn it on. But still, it's a little bit too intense. I want dynamic shadows. Okay, I want contrast. And from the contrast, this means that I may need to bring down, see there? I don't mind having shadows, but I don't want to flood the shadows out. You don't want to do that. You do want shadows. So we want to change the contrast. Another reason why you want shadows if you're working on a character is because you can set a mood. Depending on where you place a light, you want to set a mood. So this character is going to look a little bit ominous if you have lighting coming from here, not down on the bottom. You know, it's really in shadow versus shadow lights moving up, or lighting on one side and not on that side. Like you're trying to tell a story. You're telling a story with lighting. So this is something here that I will do. I'll set up 3-point light. This is what you should be doing. So if you're working on a product, so say someone you're building a product for them for visual effects or just for product placement, you want to set up things like this and then start incorporating other things like HDRI images if you need to put them in an environment. But yeah, this is how it's done. Okay, and that rim light. As my company color has green in it. too intense. Desaturate it. Just need a little bit. And let's turn on that top light. Get something like that. Let's reposition the ball. Let's lean you up here. Let's take you back right there. I would normally pose the character also. What that means is I'll turn the head. The head will be, we'll do something like that, like he's looking to the side or whatever. And from here, like that shadow, see that harsh shadow that's coming off of there? I may want to make some sort of adjustment to that shadow, or just play around with the placement of the camera so we don't necessarily see it. This is not a good shot. And then hamburger meat, screenshot, capture. I did hit capture right. Okay, it's done. There they are. Crop, we can crop. Now, when you submit this, see the banding in there also. Don't necessarily concern yourself with the banding. That's just the asset that was brought in. I would subdivide this asset up a little bit more if we could, so it looks a little bit smoother. So this one has already been done. We're also getting the lights. Let me remember that shortcut G. Tap the G key to turn the you can toggle the lights on and off. So if we don't want to see it in the shot, we can do that. Now, what I think you're going to need to do, what I would like for you to do is show me where your lights are placed. So I would take a screenshot like this out here somewhere and then run through and take a screenshot. Yep, just take a screenshot here. See, so I can see where your lights are, or you can select. You may want to do that also. Show me where the lights are, your major lights. Screenshot that. I wish there was a shortcut. Is there a shortcut here? No. Capture. They're popping in right here. See? So you want to give me these different types of lights. Now, let me warn you about something. Please do not wait till the last second to do this, because we also you have another part that's coming on Wednesday. My advice to you would be to get this done today. It's not that complicated. You already understand the process. You know how to move around today or tomorrow and all. You will be responsible also. I think I'm going to make you all post up a work in progress starting tomorrow. Okay? Work in progress, and there will be a section over here down at the bottom. It'll say, oh, what's that, week 13, week 4? I think this is week 15. Week 15. Let me make that right now. Unreal Light. Okay, you'll put up your work in progress. I want to see something either today or tomorrow. Start working on this. Screenshots. Okay, post it there. Now, on Wednesday, we're going to definitely get into the environmental side of this thing. We'll be playing around with HDRI images, and we may come back even over here and drop in an HDRI image, so to sort of help illuminate and correct this. And again, on Monday next week. So the way your final pretty much is going to go, I'm going to give you an opportunity to go back and play around with your levels. Okay. And overall, it'll be due December the 16th. Let me confirm that to make sure. I got to figure out when the final grades are due. So if you have, let me check the schedule. Yeah, it may be the 16th, December the 16th. If something changes, I'll let you know. But I just checked the schedule. But pretty much you're just going to go back in, play around with your environments, play around with the lighting for the environments, and you are going to create. I'll mention this again next week. you're going to produce a very, very detailed video on what you did, what you're doing, what changes you made, blah, 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 and all this good jazz. That's what you're going to be doing here. Okay, and that will be the video. That final video is what you're going to submit with audio. Yeah, play around with your levels. You're going to go back in. You're gonna add lighting. You're gonna all the stuff is here. You're gonna start building up your environment a little bit more. You're gonna make changes, move things around, go find some assets. I don't need to see anything textured, white box. But this is I'm gonna give you some time, give you a week to go in and start making those changes and play around with your environments. So by the time you take game design 2, you'll have something to start from. Or Ola may make you redo everything, but sometimes she'll say, "Hey, show me what you got. Come into this classroom with something, so I have an idea of what you want to do." Okay, that's how that's gonna go. Well, this week, part 1, 3-point light. Part 2, which is on Wednesday, we're gonna use this little lighting room. I'm gonna talk about HDRIs, how to get them in, and start playing around with some environmental type lighting. And you will also post work in progress of that. Questions?
I don't know if it's necessarily a question, but you were talking about earlier if you could like light something specific in Unreal.
Yeah.
Did you know how to do that?
Yes, but that's gonna
Okay.
come on. We'll
Wednesday?
talk about that on Wednesday.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I may open this one back up, and I just had a lot to cover right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's a light linking thing. They hide it, that action on how to do that. They try to hide that. I hate that. I can't stand that. How they hide that. I either if you really need it, I have other lectures where I cover that stuff, and I have more time. Since we lost a week, I'm having to cram. We're having to cram a lot into 1 week. That's why this is happening the way it is. I'm sorry about this, but I kind of have to show these things because, from what I understand, other instructors don't cover lighting and materials and things like this, and definitely not 3-point lighting. Okay, so that's why I'm sort of doing this. Ola, I already spoke to Ola about it. She doesn't cover a lot of materials. She gets into the mechanics of things, the programming and all that stuff. She's doing a lot right now with a lot of this stuff. She's even doing some stuff with some AI stuff inside of Unreal. Questions, concerns? Does it help? This is fun. This is fun. This should be easy. Set your lights up. Set your light rigs up. Know how to do it outside of Unreal, but definitely know how to do it inside of Unreal. What's going to happen then is if you can do it right, get good textures on, push your lighting, really push that lighting and your composition, you guys should have some pretty decent work coming out and looking great. And for some of you that might be interested, I don't know if you all saw what Ola posted last night. I'll tell you what, let me do this. All right, so Ola posted information about the internship from one of the gaming studio out in LA. It is, you don't have to be there, it is off site. But you do have to have 3D modeling skills. And also we have an art test from the exact same studio. We're going to be releasing that art test. Unless they want us to go ahead and do it now, we're going to be releasing that art test on, I believe, on December the 14th. Okay, so if most of you have taken a 3D class and you understand the process of building an asset, I saw the asset, I saw the reference from the art test. So you'll get a brief if you're interested in that thing. That brief, it'll be posted over on the Creature Guild. Did anyone see the alert last night? We sent it out.
Yes, I saw it.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so if you're gonna participate in that type of thing, great. This is a good way for you to get in to a few places. I will tell you this. The art director over at this particular studio, last time I sent him a student for an intern that was one of his interns. He was the first one brought in for the internship. He was a ZBrush guy. He's a character guy. He ended up becoming a concept artist with this exact same studio. They were fighting over him. He ended up being hired through his internship. He didn't go back to school. He got hired on, no promises, no guarantees. That's not what I'm saying here. But the last studio that he was with, this good buddy of mine, he was one of my ex students. He got hired on within a month and a half, 2 months, full time, benefits, all of that good stuff. And he went on to work over at Sony. He's worked on God of War. He's worked on The Division. He's worked on, name some, I think Spider-Man. He's worked on a bunch of different stuff. And he started out as an intern for this exact same guy. Okay. So it does happen. So if you're not building, if you're not art testing yourself, this is why I keep mentioning the term art test. You need to art test yourself constantly. Go find an asset, build that asset from start to finish. If you want to work as a level designer, exact same thing. Art test yourself, build up environments. Animator, you need to art test yourself and go. Animators animate in seconds, not minutes. They animate by seconds, so you need to go figure that stuff out. So whatever it is you want to do, you need to art test yourself. If you start doing that, and this art test is going to be a 2-week art test, 2 weeks, and it will cut off. We will shut it down after 2 weeks. So, and he'll tell you what he wants. I can tell you, I taught everything that I'm teaching in my 3D modeling class and my advanced 3D modeling class. It's the stuff that they're looking for in this art test. Plus, with the exception of the blueprint type stuff that they're looking for you to do something with this particular asset using blueprint from what I saw. That's not my field, that's Ova's. So I'm just saying, this is an opportunity for you to, even if you're not going to officially apply for the internship or officially, he may decide that he wants to use the art test as a way of getting in. I don't know yet. We got to speak with them again, but I told you, and for some of you that may have taken 3D classes from me or fundamental class from me, I told you this stuff was coming. I got other people. I got another heavy hitter who said that he loves to participate. He would love to participate in giving out an art test, and he is with, I just say this, he's working on Battlefield right now. Okay, so, and he's a props hard surface guy. He's not a character guy. So I'm waiting to hear back from him. And most likely we will continue to do this thing. I got a few other people I'm waiting to hear back from who are going to participate in this type of thing here. So we're starting it. And look, opportunities are there. So keep up on the Creature Guild. Participate. If you have a portfolio already, start building, get your links together, showcase your work. Do not post up images in that portfolio section on the Creature Guild. Put links to your work. So if you have an art station, and every single one of you should have an art station, you need to start producing your work out. So Floyd, those environment stuff that you want to be an environment artist, and I've seen some of your stuff, you need to start. If you don't have an art station, you need an art station. Start putting up those environments. Okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm serious. You never know who's gonna, because that's where you get hired over from the art station currently. So any questions about this stuff and what I'm covering today? I'll try to get you my other notes if I can. I'll see if I can track them down. No promises, but I'll see what I can do. All right. No questions? No. All right. See you Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
See you.
Take care.